What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to give you guys some quick Atlanta Falcons news, and then I also want to give you guys an update on the Atlanta Falcons training camp. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys continuing to tune into the channel, continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you would like to donate to my Cash App, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. You also can follow me on Instagram at Jew Talk Sports. But I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for helping your boy continue to grow my channel. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So definitely continue to hit that like and subscribe button and continue to share out this content. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So first off, in Atlanta Falcons news, over the weekend, we did sign 2 players out of free agency. We did sign Tazar Skipper, who is an outside linebacker. He's played in the league for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's played for the New York Giants. He hasn't played a ton of games in the league. He's only been in the NFL since 2018, but he has a couple games under his belt. He's mainly a special teams player and a guy who can also rush the passer. When I went and looked at his stats, he's about 6'3", 250 pounds, and he only has a half of a sack in his career. He hasn't played a ton of games in the NFL like during the regular season. I really believe he was brought in to just compete with the other outside linebackers and pass rushers that we have here in Atlanta to see if he can win a roster spot. I do believe he's an extra camp body because we have players out like Dante Fowler Jr., some guys that are on the COVID list like Caleb McGarry. So we were able to sign a couple guys. The other guy that we signed in free agency is Jamon Moore. Jamon Moore is 6'3", 205 pounds. He's another guy that's been in the league for about 2 or 3 years in the NFL and kind of has bounced around. He was originally with the Green Bay Packers, but he is a big body wide receiver. Another guy that was brought in by Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith to go in and compete with the wide receivers on the roster and to compete on the special team side of the ball. But both of these guys are long shots to make the roster, both Tazar Skipper and Jamon Moore. Good news is this new regime is going to allow these guys to get snaps, and they are going to allow these guys to go in and compete. So may the best man win. I wish these guys nothing but the best, but I do think that both of the guys that we signed over the weekend are long shots to make the roster. But with that being said, I do want to update you guys on training camp. Over the weekend, they did have open practice where the fans were allowed to go to training camp and watch the guys practice on Saturday and Sunday. From what I hear, it was some highly competitive practices going on. A lot of different players are starting to step up, and a lot of players have some big expectations heading into this season. The first player I want to talk about is Marlon Davidson, the second-year defensive tackle / defensive end for our Atlanta Falcons out of Auburn. Grady Jarrett talked about Marlon Davidson possibly taking that next step this year. He says he looks like he's lost weight. He looks like he's in shape, and it looks like he's past the injury bug that he suffered last season. Last season, Marlon Davidson was one of those guys that caught COVID, and he was on the COVID list for a couple of weeks, and then he also battled injuries last season. So he didn't get a ton of snaps due to him being a rookie. As we know, they didn't have rookie mini camps and things of that nature last season due to COVID. They didn't have preseason games last year as well due to COVID. So I do believe this is going to be a big season for a guy like Marlon Davidson. I do think that Marlon Davidson has a huge ceiling or upside. He is a guy that played at Auburn, was a 3-year starter there at Auburn. As you know, I am an Auburn Tigers college football fan. And I do think that Marlon Davidson is going to have a big season for our Atlanta Falcons. My bold prediction for Marlon Davidson was that he was going to beat out Tyler Davidson for the starting defensive tackle spot, or the 3 technique next to Grady Jarrett. I do believe he's going to be that guy that's going to be on the inside next to Grady Jarrett. I do believe in the preseason games and in training camp that he's going to show out, and he is going to be that guy that's going to take that next step and be that guy that we've been looking for to play next to Grady Jarrett. We really have struggled since the days of Jonathan Babineau and since the days of Rashid Hageman. We haven't had that guy consistently next to Grady Jarrett that can take up double teams and that can help push the pocket and get after the passer from the inside and cause pressure from the inside of the defensive line. And I do think that Marlon Davidson is possibly that guy who could break out and be that guy next to Grady Jarrett to wreak havoc on that defensive line. Grady Jarrett did call Marlon Davidson the fireball of the defensive line. He says he plays with great energy, has a great motor, and I expect nothing but big things out of Marlon Davidson. So far, so good in training camp. He is showing out in training camp. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on him heading into these preseason games and also heading into week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, 2 players that really have stood out as well, who have been taking the first team snaps on defense, is safeties Eric Harris and Deron Harmon. Those 2 guys are veteran guys that we brought in. Eric Harris came over from the Raiders, and Deron Harmon came over from the Detroit Lions, but he is also a longtime New England Patriot. Both of those guys have been taking the first team snaps on defense, which was kind of surprising to me because I thought that Richie Grant would see more snaps with the first team. But we are still early in training camp, and we haven't seen the preseason games yet. But I do believe that Deron Harmon and Eric Harris right now are the front runners to be the starters on the defensive side of things. And this puts me in the mind of 2016, the year that we brought in Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell. Both of those guys were rookies in 2016. And at the time, our starters that were taking the first team reps was Sean Weatherspoon and Paul Warlow. If you remember back in 2016, they were the guys that started off the year as the starters. That first game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, against Jameis Winston and those guys, we started the year off with Paul Warlow and Sean Weatherspoon, and we allowed Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell to kind of develop, and they were kind of rotating those guys in and out of the game until eventually Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell became the starters. And Spoon Jones or Sean Weatherspoon and Paul Warlow were mainly rotational pieces, and they were put on the special teams unit. So I think it's the same deal here. I think they're trying to allow Richie Grant and these younger safeties that we have on the roster, Jalen Hawkins, they're allowing these guys to watch, Deron Harmon and Eric Harris, watching these guys and how these guys go out, about their business. But I do believe eventually Richie Grant's talent is going to win out. I believe eventually. I do think that Eric Harris and Deron Harmon are great veteran guys, but I think they're just bridge guys for Jalen Hawkins and for Richie Grant. But I do think that Eric Harris and Deron Harmon, like I said, are solid players. And I just think at this point, we have to see how it plays out in training camp. We have to see how it plays out during these preseason games. But I believe that Richie Grant is going to make plays, and they're not going to be able to keep, his talent on the bench. But I do think that at this point, the front runners, from what I'm hearing coming out of camp, is Eric Harris is going to be the starter, and Deron Harmon, that's going to be the tandem for now. At the corner position, AJ Terrell and Fabian Monroe is the number 2 corner. I heard that AJ Terrell actually had an interception during training camp, and he got his hands on a football where he basically jumped the route, which doesn't surprise me because we know that AJ Terrell is a budding star in this league. But those guys, he's making waves at camp. Deion Jones, Michael Walker, and Afoye Oluokun, they are 3 linebackers that also have been showing, how great of a linebacking core they could possibly be. I know Deion Jones has had a couple of interceptions so far in training camp, and Michael Walker also had an interception during the one-on-one drills when they were throwing the ball to the running backs out of the backfield. So all of those guys are really stepping up and showing that we definitely have one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL. Another player that to watch for so far in this camp is Jalen Mayfield. Jalen Mayfield has been playing the right tackle position due to Caleb McGarry being placed on the PUP list. Now I'm hearing really good things so far about Jalen Mayfield, and that he's one of those guys that is competing for that starting right tackle role. He's also a guy that's versatile and that also play inside. But so far in camp, he's been manning that right tackle position. So I do believe Caleb McGarry, when he comes back, is going to have his hands full, and he's definitely going to have to compete for that starting position. But I definitely think that Jalen Mayfield on that offensive line is a guy that could be a starter heading into this season, whether he's playing the guard position or whether he's playing the tackle position. Also in training camp so far at that center position, there's a battle going on between Drew Dahlman and Matt Hennessy. Right now, it looks like Matt Hennessy is the, taking the number one snaps with the first team. He looks to be the front runner right now for the center position on offense. I definitely think that Matt Hennessy looks like he did a good job of lifting weights during the offseason. He looked really toned, looks a lot stronger than he looked last season. And I definitely think that he's the front runner, and I do believe he'll be the starter going into week 1. But he is going to have to battle it out during preseason and training camp with Drew Dahlman. But that's another position group or a matchup that I'm looking at. But so far, it's a lot of interesting things going on in camp. As far as the wide receivers and the offense, a guy, Olamide Zaccheaus, is a guy that really, his name has been coming up a lot from Arthur Smith. When they interview Arthur Smith, he talks glowingly about a guy like Zaccheaus, Olamide Zaccheaus. I think he's a guy that can take the next step this year. If you remember last season before he got injured, Olamide Zaccheaus was one of those guys that was playing very well. He had a touchdown against the Denver Broncos. He played really well against the Chicago Bears in that game as well. So he's another guy that you should look out for to possibly be a breakout star this year for our team. Could be a guy that plays in the slot with him and Russell Gage. And then as well as the tight ends room, Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts. Those two guys as well in camp so far has been showing out. Basically, Hayden Hurst has talked about the combination between him and Kyle Pitts, and that those guys are competing, but it's going to be a lot of situations where we're going to see both of those guys out on the field together. And I really think that Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts are going to be two guys that are used in tandem a lot this season. I think that those guys are going to be used in slot, be used outside the numbers. And so far in camp, we've seen those guys in motion a lot. We've seen those guys out there causing mismatch nightmares, due to linebackers and things of that nature are going to have to guard these guys one-on-one. And I really think that Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts are going to be the focal point of the passing game. I really think that those guys are going to be used a lot in this offense, because I do believe it's going to be a run-heavy offense, an offense where everything is going to predicate off a play-action pass. And the middle of the field is going to be, where we can get those chunk plays. It's going to be very important to suck those linebackers up with that running game and have those safeties creeping up and throw the ball right behind those guys with these great tight ends that we have. So I really think that Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts, those guys are, like I said, are competing with each other. But I think it's going to be, those guys are going to be used in tandem. I don't think those guys are going to be off the field a lot. I think both of those guys are going to be on the field a lot. And I think that they're going to see snaps as if they're wide receivers because of their speed and the way that they run routes. Those guys are very talented. Both of those guys are, like I said, mismatch nightmares for linebackers, safeties, and corners because of their size and speed. And I really think that they're going to be the focal point of this passing game. Calvin Ridley has looked really, really polished as usual in camp so far. No surprise there. I definitely think that Calvin Ridley is ready for the season. We just need, all of our guys to stay healthy, knock on wood. I've been looking at a lot of the injury reports for a lot of teams, a lot of big name, players like Carson Wentz and a lot of players around the league are going down with injuries. So I definitely just, at this point, just want these guys to stay healthy. In the running back or in the backfield, it's a couple guys that really have been showing their stuff. Quadri Olson is a guy that Arthur Smith speaks glowingly about. Mike Davis, Cordell Patterson, those three guys have really been getting majority of the snaps in training camp, and they look very well, look very good catching the ball, out of the backfield. I think those guys are going to be the focal point as well in the running game. I really think that Mike Davis and Quadri Olson, being that we're going to be having a downhill zone rushing attack, I think that the physical style of this team, I think Mike Davis and Quadri Olson are going to be those guys that's going to be used. And then you'll have a guy like Cordell Patterson be that change of pace back, him and Javion Hawkins. Javion Hawkins mainly has seen time on the special team side of things, but I do think that he's a guy that can be used in the passing game as well. But so far, so good in training camp. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. I really think that a lot of these guys have a lot to prove heading into this year. They interviewed Matt Ryan, and he talked about having something to prove. And really, he said he doesn't care about stats so much, but all he cares about at this point is winning. And I think that that's going to be huge for our Atlanta Falcons this year. Matt Ryan knows that his window of opportunity for winning a Super Bowl is starting to close. So it's going to be very important that these guys come out and get out to a fast start. I do think that this team is young, hungry, and I really think that we're flying under the radar. But I really expect some big things this year from this young Atlanta Falcons team. And with Matt Ryan leading the helm, him and Grady Jarrett on the defensive side of the ball, those guys as the leaders of this team, I really expect some big things out of this Falcons team this year. And with that being said, you guys let me know what you think of the video. If it's another video that you would like me to drop, or if it's a question that you may have, drop those comments below. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button for your boy. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. But with that being said, this has been your boy Jew. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace.